went first. Yeah, I know. Hey, can I use your comb? Yeah. Give it to me, Judy. Are you joining choir again? I don't know, but it makes gymnastics. Oh, you and Missy was in San Francisco next year. We could go to San Francisco together. That'd be great. Terrific. Yeah, that's all right. Now, yeah.
School bus crashed and burned in Newhall. There's several injuries. You better get out there.
Any ideas how? The freeways will be jammed.
Call Driscoll at the Cop House. Find out what hospital they're taking the victims to and meet them.
Okay.
What do you got? First picture's out of Kular. Where is that anyway? Used to be British Arabia. Where was that? The Persian Gulf.
That Kular? Let me see.
This is the funeral of the king. More like a riot.
French photographer's doing a good job for us.
It's amazing he's able to get these shots, let alone get them out of the country. How come they didn't throw out the French along with the Americans?
You get more attention by throwing out Americans. Phil, what's the feeling on the foreign desk about Kular?
Don't drink the water or the oil.
Which way do you think it'll go?
Well, until the government stabilizes, what we've got is a vacuum. With Russia, American Islam all rushing to fill it.
Just let me know if I'm going to wait on gas lines again.
Yeah, well, we do import a lot of oil from Kular. If they ever shut off our supply completely...
Why didn't I buy a diesel?
Charlie, your sister on 3 from San Diego.
Excuse me a second. Hello, Claire. How are you? Yeah, we have the guest room all set up. Well, why can't you stay over? Will Jim pick you up in the morning in Baltimore? Okay. Call me when you get home. Yeah.
Well, there was no need for a break with the previous administration on that matter.
Mr. Muppet, is it true that you're the fella in the Defense Department that we all have to thank for keeping our Red Devil missile system in the competition?
Well, Southern California's always been the heart of the aerospace industry, so we think it only makes sense to stay with the winner. As leaders of the business community, I know you can appreciate that.
He's telling these people what they want to hear. Not exactly a controversial lunch.
Well, it's a free country, Mr. Grant. Ask a question.
Mr. Moffat, can we expect a change in policy in Kular? As you know, they are undergoing a revolution. What will we do if the Marxists try to grab that oil?
I don't think Kular wants communism. It is a volatile situation, and we're watching it very carefully.
That while he was on the coast. And now the subject of next month's luncheon discussion.
Something's up.
How can you tell?
Newsman's instinct. He didn't finish his chocolate cake.
I don't know what it means either. We got a strange wire report from Washington.
Really? What?
Well, the president was on his way to Camp David. His helicopter took off, hovered for a few minutes, and then came right back down. President quipped he had had a wonderful trip. Was glad to be home.
Looks like he was called back to the White House about the same time Moffat was called out of here.
Well, we'll get on it. Donovan, Moffat was supposed to go back to Washington on a commercial flight, but they took him to the Long Beach Naval Air Station instead, and he caught a military plane from there. Call March Air Force Base. That's the nearest SAC installation. Find out if they're on alert.
I can't get through to our D.C. bureau. What's Cozell doing? Talking to his girlfriend?
All the Washington circuits are busy. Think that means anything?
Yeah, everybody knows something but us. Find the radio. This is you. Let me speak with Cozell.
Doctor, hi, Sarah. Sarah Baldwin.
We're taking care of her now.
Well, could I see her, please? I'm her best friend.
Well, I don't think she'll be able to see anybody for a couple of days. But when she's better, I'll let you know, okay?
What happened to Sarah Baldwin?
She's the girl you saw brought in by helicopter. She was trapped in a bus.
How is she?
Well, she suffered third-degree burns over 70% of her body. She went into respiratory arrest. We had to perform a tracheostomy. Now she's stabilized. She's lucky to be brought here.
Why is that?
Well, we think we have one of the best, if not the best, burning centers in the country. I've spent most of the last 12 years developing many of the techniques we use. And with the team concept, it makes everything work.
Now I remember that race car driver was flown here from Riverside.
Well, that's why we have the helicopter pad on the roof. Now, when Sarah's parents arrive here tonight from Marietta, our team social worker and I will meet them, arrange for a motel, and explain what they're in for. You see, burns are so traumatic and painful, so completely disruptive and long-term that families need all the support they can get. Have you had lunch?
As a matter of fact, no.
Well, I'm not asking you to lunch. I just want to make sure you don't get sick. patient comes in here twice a day for silver nitrate baths. The dressings come off underwater, and the patient's encouraged to wash his own wounds, to participate as much as possible in his own treatment.
Wouldn't he be unconscious?
Most of them are alert. You see, we can't medicate them effectively for pain. The nerve endings are exposed. In burns, the pain is constant. You and I can't imagine what it rests on special air beds under heat shields, because of course we can't put blankets on them. Now, we have a team of specialists, including burn pediatricians. But you know, the only thing that makes the patients better is the nursing care. It takes enormous love and around-the-clock nursing. Sometimes for months, and even then we lose them.
What are Sarah's chances, really?
Well, her prognosis is not good. But she's young, and we're going to do everything we can. This is the most advanced technology for burn treatments in the world. So there's reason for hope.
I can hear you.
Have you gotten through to Washington?
We're trying.
Did Runcie turn in his cable TV story?
He got a new lead, but when he came back, I put him on that story about Moffat.
The FCC is announcing a licensing change in the morning. I need a story, Donovan.
I need a vacation.
Nice going, Ray.
Lou Grant will continue in a moment here on A&E.
Words is very interesting. I quote, "Any attempt by an outside force to gain control of the Persian Gulf will be regarded as an assault on the vital interests of the United States and will be repelled by any means necessary, including military force." End quote. We'll have more on this during our half-hour special report, Crisis in...
Oil shipments from Coulard to the U.S. have been halted, and there is no indication when they will be resumed.
Listen, Marv, I say we should nuke them just like we should have nuked Iran.
And to summarize what the government spokesman said in his announcement, new developments in the Persian Gulf skirmish this afternoon have been confirmed. An American jet was shot down over Kular airspace, but in the brief exchange of air-to-air missiles, American aircraft also destroyed a Kulari jet, believed to be a Russian-made MiG. We'll be back with local reaction to these developments right after this.
American citizens have been urged to leave Kular. The first to arrive in West Germany tonight report that fighting in the streets between army units loyal to the late king and religious extremists has subsided for the time being. Sources in Washington have confirmed that all diplomatic efforts to alleviate tensions...
Haven't heard anything new in 2 hours.
You're probably right. Come to think of it, I'm starting to crash. See you tomorrow.
Forget about it, Lou. No way is that story a Metro.
What story?
Kular.
Two in the morning, Charlie. Ask who it is first.
Who is it?
It's your sister.
What are you doing here?
I was sitting out at the airport waiting to make my connection with and I was going to call you. But then I just figured, what the hell, this is just too damn important.
What is it?
Good to see you, Marion. Well, I just spent 2 days at a symposium of concerned doctors talking about the medical repercussions of nuclear war. And, well, here we are, suddenly faced with it.
Come on, Claire. Everyone's a little tense with things heating up in Kular, but don't get melodramatic.
Have you read the research I sent you?
Which research? You send me stuff every week.
Any of it.
Not yet, but I will.
By the time you get around to it, it'll be too late.
Look, Claire, I'll read it tonight.
How was the symposium?
Incredible. You know, the first one we ever held in Baltimore, we had maybe 100. This time in San Diego, there were 2,000. Doctors, nurses, technicians.
Doctors are really responding to this, aren't they?
Yes. They realized that a nuclear war would be the last epidemic. One bomb dropped on L.A. would immediately kill close to 2 million and severely injure 1 million more. It's the injuries that we were talking about at the symposium. I mean, never before in the history of the world have 1 million people been injured in one place. It's a medical impossibility. If you have to think about it for 3 days like we did, you go a little nuts.
How about a drink, Claire, or something to eat? You must be starved.
No, thanks, I can't. You know that there was a Dr. Buchanan from Phoenix led a discussion as to whether we, as doctors, should murder our patients when they're in pain and ask to be killed because there's no medication. Diseases that we now control, like encephalitis and hepatitis and polio, would become epidemic. Did you cover the convention?
We had a stringer on it.
Charlie, you should have sent 6 reporters down there. Your medical and science guys, too. Where were they?
Claire, you don't understand how we do things.
When are you going to get off the dime on this, Charlie? For the most part, the media has not been getting this story out. My own brother has his head in the sand. It's just a dozen bombs aimed at it right now. Each one 70 times the explosive power of Hiroshima. At any given moment, we're a half hour away from annihilation.
I want to thank you in advance for the wonderful night's sleep I'm going to have.
I don't see my TV cable story, Lou, 3rd day in a row.
Sorry, Rosie. If you want to make the paper, tell the Russians not to mass their troops on the Kular border.
Huh. Is this just a confrontation, or should I be nervous about this?
Only about as nervous as you were during the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Are you kidding? I was in high school, hiding under the desk. I was sure it was going to happen.
Nah,
We'll go a certain distance, show a little muscle, that's all.
They'll flex a little, we'll flex a little.
Yeah, what if somebody throws a punch?
That's why I think we should have good, strong, conventional forces. Then we don't have to go...
Oh, Greece. Why didn't I think of the Greek islands?
What about?
My vacation's coming up. This sounds really nice. A chartered yacht sailing the blue Aegean. A whitewashed shack on the island of Spetsi.
That's good, Donovan. Think about your vacation. You say conventional weapons. What if they start talking nuclear?
I think all the nuclear talk is just a matter of deterrent.
That reminds me of my mom. She always used to say, what are those nuclear detergents they're always talking about?
They sure get your shirt whiter than white.
The Department of Defense has asked us to clear some beds in case there are casualties in the Middle East thing.
You mean if they were fighting, they would fly our soldiers halfway around the world for treatment?
Well, you can't treat severe burns in the field.
How many cases could we have?
Oh, we could free up maybe 10 of our beds.
10?
Well, hospitals all over the country are part of the project. Now, they don't expect anything to happen. They're just putting us on standby.
How about Sarah? Are you going to start skin grafts?
We're going to wait a few days. Get her caloric intake increased. But there's going to be a problem. There's not a whole lot of skin left to graft. She's got a fight ahead of her.
How did you first get involved in this?
Well, my practice is mostly children, and I started comparing notes with my colleagues about children's fantasies. We found out that children all over the world are starting to dream about nuclear war. They see voids, they see blackness falling into dark holes. I talked to teenagers who just don't think they'll live long enough to have families.
Write that down for me, will you, along with those other sources.
Our children are already grieving the death of the planet.
So we gotta go.
They'll tell you that the whole idea of nuclear warfare is goofy.
Goofy.
My grandmother says it still counts. The choir's doing this? The choir and the rest of the school. Have you seen Sarah yet?
No, I haven't.
They won't let us inside. I guess we're not sterile enough. Are you waiting to see Dr. Lawrence?
Yes.
So am I. I want to ask if she can read letters or not.
Where is Dr. Lawrence?
They said he had a phone call from Washington. Hey, want me to show you how to make them?
Yes.
My sister got us out of bed to talk about this stuff, but she made a point. We've been neglecting this in our coverage.
Gonna turn on Channel 6. They're doing an instant replay of something you've got to see.
The senator has just emerged from a subcommittee.
I hope it's Kareem Skyhook from the top of the key.
After the press, he forced his way over.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have something very urgent to say to you. No, I've got to talk to all these people.
Come on. What's going on in there?
All the people have got to go. They're in there talking about the Big Bang. Everyone that you have ever loved is going to be gone. Finished. Over. And I'm not just talking about a sudden white flash. No. Millions and millions of people are going to suffer unimaginable pain. It's worse. Suicide. It's madness. No, please, I've got to tell them. No. One more question.
The senator is being driven to an undisclosed
That is a record on videotape of a U.S. senator wigging out.
Lou Grant will continue in a moment here on A&E.
How do you feel about waiting in gas lines again?
See the guy 3 cars ahead? Just cut in. If you'd tried that on me, I would have killed him. Still might.
Hey, Phil, what about this revolution in Couloir? What does it mean? Is it Marxist, religious, or what?
Well, I think we should wait on the deep analysis and cover what's happening now. The struggle for oil. You know the gas lines out there are murder, worse than 74.
Could Couloir go Marxist?
Sure it could. It could go either way.
Are there contingency plans for that?
Yeah, well, I think the only plan is to keep control of the flow of oil at all costs.
What's all costs?
Well, you heard what the Pentagon guy said. We will not rule out military intervention.
Meaning still every administration, Republican and Democratic, has said it's unthinkable to really actually consider pushing the button.
I'm not hearing that anymore. Are you? Is anybody?
We may have to use nuclear weapons in a limited way to show them that we mean business.
From what I've been reading, there's no such thing as a limited nuclear exchange. Once one goes off anywhere in the world, that's it.
Not necessarily. I am speaking of tactical nuclear weapons. One battlefield limited to a particular place.
You mean just one little bomb like the one that flattened Hiroshima?
Between Marines and kill our soldiers.
American Marines?
Went in to protect our embassy and civilian people. They were ambushed by hundreds of soldiers.
Well, gentlemen, I think we have a new page 1.
Mr. Rossi? Somehow, when I called to get your ideas about civil defense, I didn't expect to meet you at a surf shop.
Well, my son very carefully told me that this is the primo surf shop in L.A. His birthday is tomorrow. I'm sure he doesn't expect me to come back from the coast empty-handed.
Great confrontation with the Russians. Would we use nuclear weapons?
I can't answer that officially.
How about unofficially? Well, we just speculate.
Well, we wouldn't rule it out.
You wouldn't rule out nuclear weapons. If we use them, wouldn't that start World War III?
Oh, not necessarily. Our aim would be a limited engagement.
What if it can't be limited? The United States could be attacked.
Well, we would just have to survive.
Is that possible?
Well, if we were prepared, yes.
I've read that no matter how much we were prepared, over 90% of Americans would die within 30 days in the event of an all-out attack.
Well, that depends on where you get your figures. We've calculated that 80% of the population could be saved.
What would that take?
Well, we'd have to commit to building shelters, making plans to evacuate the civilian population.
Evacuate L.A.? Took me over an hour to get here from my paper just because of a little traffic snarl on the freeway.
Like to put this in the back for me? Would you like to take a little walk? No, nuclear weapons are here, Joe. I don't like them any better than you do. My kids mean everything to me. I hate the fact that they were born into a world...
Wouldn't the long-term effects of a nuclear explosion be absolutely devastating?
Joe, look at cities like Dresden and Berlin, Hiroshima. They came back, didn't they? I grant you, a nuclear bomb is a very big explosion, but that's all it is. You know, every time that there is an advance in weaponry, people always say it's the end of the world. But if we don't despair, we will survive. Even if we lost 20% of our population, we can make it through.
Wait a minute. Even using your figures, 20% is still... It's 40 million people. You find that acceptable?
No. I find that horrifying.
Well, let me understand something. You're pessimistic about people's ability at the international level to work together, solve problems, and be intelligent enough to avoid war.
That's right.
But at the same time, you are saying that your plan for survival totally depends on the unprecedented cooperation and order of 200 million people at a time of acute panic?
For those of you on your lunch hour, there are protein wafers, canned water, and other nuclear snacks. We are going to pretend that a single 20-megaton bomb has exploded 16,000 feet above us. There are two effects of fission-fusion bombs: blast and heat. Within a 10-mile radius, 1.8 million people would be killed instantly by the blast. The heat released is enormous. In 1/1,000,000th of a second, the temperature you would be blinded instantly. Now, the heat would also create firestorms in the dry Los Angeles basin, which would consume most of the oxygen, so that in the event that you had not been killed by the blast or the thermal effect, you would die of asphyxiation. Now, if by some fluke you did survive, you would be living in a contaminated environment. Genetic mutations for 10,000 years. Not to mention the staggering psychic shock of losing everyone that you ever knew. And, of course, civilization in chaos. It is said that the living will envy the dead.
Lou Grant will continue in a moment here on A&E.
Introduce you now the reason that we're here today. We are very fortunate to have with us from Washington Brigadier General Walter Sutherland, United States Army, retired.
I guess it's up to me to be the comic relief, huh?
This guy's a general? What's he doing here? Is he the other side?
You'll see, he's kind of an interesting character. Now, we've been planning this lunch for a long time. Never dreaming that today's world events were going to make it so dramatic. Have control of them anymore. Okay. You're the press. Ask your questions.
What do we call for dinner reservations at this place? What do you mean when you say we don't have control of the weapons?
The computer memory would be wiped out. And also, nuclear reactors would melt down. Also, EMP destroys communication between the command control and the missiles themselves. So the missiles would go off target. Self-destruct would... Well, who knows what? That's the whole point, ladies and gentlemen. Nobody knows. And that's why there is no such thing as a limited nuclear war.
Well, then, General, why do some people say nuclear...
The Soviet Union 20 times over is convincing? Let me make this very clear. I'm not talking disarmament. I'm talking nuclear reduction rather than escalation. A freeze on building additional warheads.
Are you going to tell us what you've got in those boxes, General?
These are part of your press kits. And this is a government handbook on how to deal with nuclear attack. I'm going to read at random, just to give you an idea of some of the wisdom that's contained in here.
Could you run those numbers by me again?
5 days, she'll need several liters of plasma, a half dozen units of whole blood, and 15 to 20 units of additional IV fluid.
It's a tremendous amount.
Happens every day with burns. Standard treatment. We have to replace the enormous fluid loss. Had lunch?
I'm not sure. What are you going to show me?
Please. do a lot of cosmetic surgery because it pays the bill. But for me, this is what counts. But it's difficult for all of us here. We have mandatory group therapy sessions once a week for the nurses. But we're one of the few centers of this kind, so we do it.
I'm curious, how many acute burn beds are there?
In all of L.A., oh, maybe 75. In the whole country, 1,200.
1,200, that's all?
That's all.
Lou, I finally decided on the Greek islands. Look at this.
I'll look at it later. We're right on deadline.
See, right here.
What do you got?
I've got an evangelist who said the world was going to end last week. He now claims he was a little off.
What else?
I just heard they're going to test the civil defense sirens at 6.
Oh, that's great. Tomorrow morning, we'll be able to let everyone know that the sirens have scared the hell out of them. We're just a test.
Lou, I got the man on the street stuff. I'm still working on it. But here's some lines at the supermarket.
What's the feeling, I think?
Well, bottled water was out by 10 this morning. But it's funny, people I talked to seem a little sheepish about stocking up. I noticed a lot of people topping off their gas tanks today when I was. By the way, I heard on my car radio, they're going to test the air raid sirens at 6.
We don't.
I just didn't want you to wonder if you heard it.
Nobody's going to be diving under their desks around here, that's what you mean.
Just read Rosenthal's interview with the wife of the captain of the American tanker that's going to try to run the Soviet blockade. She says she's not worried. Her husband has faced difficult tasks before.
When are they going to try to run it?
Lou Grant will continue in a moment here on A&E.
If you thought there was going to be a nuclear attack, would you leave the city?
Well, I'd try like crazy to get to my husband and my kids. You know, we have a contingency plan for when the earthquake hits. We're all going to meet at my sister's.
I have some sandbags left over from the floods. I guess I can put them around the house, but I don't think that's going to work.
This reminds me of the Japanese attack on Los Angeles. Some searchlights spotted a stray plane or something or other. Our anti-aircraft opened fire, and debris fell to the ground. People were terrified. Well, it turned out to be...
I've talked to the people at a couple of the other papers. They're considering it.
I'm against it. It's bad enough Channel 6 is showing how to build your own home shelter and running first symptoms of radiation sickness reports all week.
So typical of them.
You know that thing General Sutherland was talking about, the electromagnetic pulse that knocks out communications? If it would knock out Channel 6, it might almost be worth it.
Well, I'm inclined to go with Mr. Grant. Let's hold off on this.
Water, plenty of supplies. I even had to replace all the toilet paper once. Started a lot on me. I've been ready for this for almost 30 years.
Hey, you sound like you're almost looking forward to it.
Well, it's nice to see your investment pay off.
Hey, how about a shot from up here?
Oh, no, wait, I told you. I don't want any likeness to me or pictures of my house in the newspapers. I don't even want to be identified. You can show the interior of the shelter just fine, but I don't want my neighbors to know I'm protected. There's only room for one couple down there.
Just you and your wife?
If she watches her step.
How did we get to the point of standing toe-to-toe, baring our teeth at the Russians, General? Well, from a military point of view, there were lots of options besides what we've got now, which is nuclear-equipped warships and standoff. Their experience has taught us that they're not. But our perception of each other as evil has limited our options. It's backed us right up against the wall. But given the difficulty in dealing with the Soviet Union, what good, for instance, would a treaty have done? Well, I fully expect any treaty with the Russians to be nearly impossible to monitor, nearly impossible to hammer out, and damn hard to get ratified. Now, the only way that it could really happen would be for the U.S. and the Soviet Union to realize that we do have a common interest, global survival. Can we act now to end the standoff? Of course. It's never too late.
We better call a meeting.
What for?
For instance, a bomb exploded in the Kular Parliament. Whatever was left of the government is gone, and the leftists are now in control. They've already executed at least 2 of our Marines.
Forced our hand, we're going to have to respond.
So it sounds like the bells of St. Mary's in here.
Lou, this is Pinchon. You better read this.
Yes?
Turn on your television, sir. One of our oil tankers has been blown up. I just saw it on the news.
I guess it just came over the wires.
They think it may be a mine. They're not sure. They're not even sure who did it. But I'm afraid we'll find it necessary to retaliate in kind. Mr. Grant, we're on the brink of an abyss. My God, how did we get ourselves into this?
Would you favor a preemptive nuclear strike against the Soviet Union?
Well, I suppose so. I mean, what are we supposed to do, wait until they bomb us?
No, we can't do it. Because it can't be done. Don't tell me about my duty. I know what my duty is. That was Washington. They've been telling me to expect burn victims from a battlefield. They didn't say they were talking about radiation burns.
Oh.
Radiation burns are a whole different ballgame. The depth of tissue destruction is much greater. There's hardly any healthy tissue left. Radiation destroys chromosomes, which send the message to the cells to reproduce. With chromosome damage, you can't replace the protein of the cells. Essentially, you bleed to death. There is no way we could handle thousands of radiation burn victims at this hospital. 30 or 40 would tax all our resources. And even then, we'd have to turn this whole hospital into a burn ward.
So you told him no?
They don't know what they're dealing with.
Dr. Lauren? Hi.
Hi, Judy.
We've got 644 cranes so far. Would you tell Sarah she's going to have her wish?
Yeah, I will. Her leg's infected. Pseudomonas. We always have to battle it in burns. But when you see it, it's not a good sign.
Can't you talk yet?
Yes, we removed the tracheostomy, too.
Did you say anything?
Days with little relief. Until the pseudomonas enters the bloodstream, she becomes septic, and her little heart gives out. That's how you die of burns.
Look, I know you guys at the phone company are having your problems, and I sympathize. But we're dead in the water here when the phones are screwed up. I don't care if it's busier than Mother's Day. You have to take care of your business customers first.
Donovan, you got some down. So the freeways. Well, if there is a nuclear holocaust, will you save me a copy of the final edition? It could be a collector's item. Well, listen, guys. Bye, aloha, uzo, whatever they say in Greece. Bye. Have fun.
I can't believe we're having this discussion. It can't happen. It's unthinkable.
It can't happen.
Oh, shut up, Rosie. All you're doing is upsetting people. You love to do that, don't you?
No, Billy, I don't. I really don't.
Listen, I just wanted to ask you, have the Baltimore papers run a first aid supplement? One did, one didn't. No, we waited. Went around it all day, finally decided to hold off. Oh, come on. Claire, it's all gonna be...
What are you two doing here?
We figured you might need us.
No, I can always call you back if anything happens.
I just can't get up for hitting the freeways. You want to go down and get a bite at McKenna's?
Yeah, go ahead. I'll catch up with you. Not much happening, huh?
Just the clowns on Channel 6, milking it for all it's worth, making a big deal about somebody getting shot over groceries in Hollywood.
Oh, what else is new? See you in a while.
The Channel 6 special coverage of the Coulard situation continues. There is speculation tonight whether the president is actually aloft in the doomsday plane, a specially shielded 747 that becomes connected.
City desk. Newman? No, she's not here right now. Oh, hello, Doctor. Yeah, can I take a message? Sarah Baldwin's pseudomonas is under control. Her prognosis is guarded, but favorable. Oh, that's great. She'll be pleased to get this. The kids have finally finished 1,000 cranes.
Moment weddings. Well, they're all part of the eccentricities of life in Hollywood. Carrie Fisher gives us an insider's view of life and love in Tinseltown. Sunday, in the A&E special presentation, Carrie Fisher, The Hollywood Family. Now, a disabled cop fights to prove he can still do the job. On Police Story, next on A&E.